Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 4.
Hi, everyone. It's Ken Judge from Ken's Corner Podcast, back with the fan panel. Got a special guest. Let's everyone welcome Paul Henny Hendrick. Paul, how are you doing?
I'm no longer special, Ken. Thanks for the introduction, but I am no longer special.
He's a frequent flyer now.
That's what I am. Thank you.
That's true. You've been on here, I think, about 25 times over the last 3 years. So you're always our go-to guy, or special. Well, you're special to us. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about this. Leading up to this road trip, Paul, we're going to ask you first. Leading up to this road trip, we lost 3 straight games. In fact, we won 5, lost 3, won 3, lost 3, and that was leading up to this road trip that we went on, and we scored, I think, 3 goals combined in those 3 games. Now, do you believe, because we did go 3-1 on this road trip, unfortunately, that game we got a little bit goalied last night. Vancouver played a pretty good game. But do you believe this road trip, especially for someone like Morgan Riley and, well, to the lesser extent, but not a lesser extent, Bobby McMahon, that this was a really good bonding experience for the Toronto Maple Leafs leading into the rest of the season?
Yeah, you certainly do, Ken. You know, it's not an easy road trip going through Alberta and sweeping. Getting the Musk game in Seattle and then Vancouver. When I was with the team and Pat Quinn coached, we never lost. I mean, I remember Glenn Healy talking about winning a game in his galoshes. The Leafs won it in overtime on a Steve Thomas goal, and Glenn was in nets, and he was not very good. But the Leafs always found a way to win. Now I think they've won I can count on maybe 2 or 3 fingers in the last 15 years. And the last time they won was 2019. And it's just really hard to win there for whatever reason. But that said, they come up with 3 or 4 wins. I know at times they're trying to find themselves offensively, but you look down at the stats. I think Craig is getting this club ready to play playoff type hockey when you're not going to need 4 or 5 goals. And the fact of the matter is the statistics bear itself out. This club's going to have 6 20-goal scorers when Mitch is at 16. Bobby McMahon's at 17. They've already got 4 there already. We still have 27 games left to be played. I think they're going to be okay. And they did get out goalied last night, and Joseph Wall was very good. You got to give credit down at the other end because Lincoln and he was excellent.
Yeah, he definitely was. He definitely was. And who knows who we bring in? I'm hoping Brett Living makes a trade. I'm sure we all expect him to. I am hearing Ryan Donato out there. I'm not sure, but I think that would be a sneaky good move. JT, if there's anything that you can take from this road trip, and like I said, 3-1, if you had said at the start, oh, we're going to lose in Vancouver, I believe as Leaf fans, we all would have accepted that, a 3-1 road record. What was your favorite take from this road games, JT?
I think it was the bonding of the team, and you could just see them by the time on a long road trip like that. These guys, they all live together. They become quite a bit of a family. But when you go that far, that long, and on the road together, there's a lot of different time spent, and you can see by the end how they played, not just as a scoring machine together, but they played as a team together. They stuck up for each other. If somebody did something cheesy, next guy was in to throw fists. It was a bonding experience. I think that was a big step for our team, and we were lucky to come out 3-1, I think, as at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Phil, Bobby McMahon, can you walk us through what the Bobby McMahon experience must have been for him? And he is on, well, until last night, was on a goal streak that actually tied him with, I said Wendell Clark the other day, but it was actually Austin Matthews and Matt Sundin that had actually scored from 5 straight games. Can you walk us through your experience of watching Bobby McMahon over this road trip?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like Henny and JT had mentioned, the bonding of the team. We were the only team that hadn't played more than 2 games back to back on the road. So to have this 4 game stretch where guys were able to have that time together, but also getting Bobby back to Alberta to see all those family members that he hasn't seen and God knows how long. He had support through most of those games. I think through the 3 out of the 4 games, he had people in the stands that he was performing in front of, and that means a lot to these guys. Bobby has been he's been pretty solid this year. Game in, game out, he plays a good, fast, heavy game. He's always in those right spots to make the plays.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I believe he comes in at about a 1.7 million right now.
Yeah, quite a bargain. He's going to end up with 25 goals before all said and done. He brings size, speed, and he's got a great shot. And he was undrafted. I mean, it's just a bargain.
Yeah. Gord, Austin Matthews has not scored in 6 straight games. What's your level of concern for Austin Matthews not scoring goals right now?
None at all. To be honest with you, none at all. He's still getting points. He's playing defense. He's hitting. He's showing that he can be an all-around player. Him getting 50 or 60 goals if they're losing isn't going to help the team. I think that's like JT and them were saying. This bonding experience kind of shows you that it doesn't have to be a one-man team. They can play as a unit.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Paul, we're back to you again. Anthony Stolarz, he came back, and how did you feel? Were you very confident in his performance moving forward in that game?
Totally. Now, they talk about the pebble, it's a piece of cartilage or whatever it is that they cleaned out, but surgery is surgery. Matt Murray's the other guy. I had a hip replacement in May. He's got both hips replaced. It's just incredible that these athletes are able to bounce back from these kind of injuries. But more to your point on Anthony, he looked fantastic. And I think you're going to need both these goaltenders going forward. And I guess we'll get to a point where Boston did in the postseason last year, where you got to pick one and ride it out at that point. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Craig Berube go back and forth once we get to mid-April. That said, he looked very, very comfortable. And it was a good break-in game against a team like Seattle, as opposed to maybe sticking him in against Washington or Colorado or one of those clubs. So, no, I'm just relieved he got through it okay. Glad he's going to get a couple more weeks of rest, and look forward to this last stretch run because, guys, it is going to be an absolute sprint.
Yeah, definitely. JT, we earlier on a few of our podcasts, we were talking about the possibility of Chris Tanev headed into Team Canada for this 4 Nations. Are you excited that upset that he didn't? Or are you happy that Chris Tanev maybe doesn't have to stop pucks with his face for hockey that in the end of the day just doesn't matter to Toronto Maple Leaf fans?
Well, I think it would be a good, pat on the back or a little chip on the shoulder for him to have been called up to play that game or that tournament. More of a personal thing for Chris, but I don't think he really cares as much as he cares about seeing where this team can go in the finals. Mm-hmm. The big part of a fact right now, I'm pretty sure the Leafs are 22-0 when leading after 2. So we are a defensive juggernaut on a shutdown system. Mm-hmm. And that says a lot about Chris Tanev and the rest of the decor. And I don't think having him peg-legging out there, blocking shots for a more of a pride thing playing for Canada. I think we need him more for the Leafs and take a cup, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I agree with you 100%. We've spoken about it before, Paul, about this is just being really a glorified all-star game. And yeah, I still believe that, as much as I'm sure we're all going to be glued to our TVs watching that first game against Sweden. And then, of course, States and the whole booing of the anthem. Thank God that's stopped. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on to a few rumors. And Phil, I'm going to ask you a question. Well, everyone can chime in on this as well. We'll go from Phil to Paul to JT and then Gord and get your opinions on a very serious trade offer that I'm hearing coming through the pipes. And that one being, I'm sure you've all heard, Scott Lawton of the Philadelphia Flyers, and possibly in a package with Rich Delaney and their defenseman, their 6'4" defenseman, who has, I think, something like 85 block shots this year. What do you think would take us to get one of these or two of these? I'm hearing Lawton's a first rounder. Obviously, we can't do that. Do you like this option, or would you rather move on somewhere else?
Well, I like it as an option for sure. We had this conversation the other day when we were on the panel, and we talked about, is this the year that the team makes the decision to go all out to go for the cup this year? If that's the case, then make the deals, give up the young guys. Down the road, you might regret giving up a Minton or a Cowan. But if the brain trust, if Shanahan and Trey Living decide that they want to make that push for the cup this year, then put all your hats in a basket and go for it.
Yeah, and congratulations to Easton Cowan and his now 65 game streak that came to an end. What a heck of a streak. Paul, would you go ahead with this move, or maybe is there a Braden Shen? Is that a pipe dream?
I agree with what the guys are saying. No pipe dream. I'd love to get those two guys. I'm just checking Ristolanen's contract. Is he UFA after this year?
No, he's got 3 years left at $5.1 million.
Okay. I like the way he plays. He brings a nasty edge. The other thing, and I like his size. And for Lots, I've known him for a little bit. He's got a year left at $3 million. I don't want to see us giving up a first-round draft pick for a bottom six forward. I just don't like that business. But that said, when you know you're that close and you can bring somebody in who will help solidify that third grouping, maybe, I don't know.
If we don't, someone else might do it, do you think?
Yeah. And do you give up on Minton? Do you give up on Cowan? They've obviously scouted those guys long enough, both the Flyers and Maple Leafs, to know who they might consider giving up and rolling the dice. I remember back in training camp, day one, September 15th, 2015, and 5 players going to the Islanders, including Carter Verhaeghe. And even the Islanders screwed it up and got rid of him as well. And now you got Carter Verhaeghe.
Yeah.
I just hope you're not giving that up. But, forget 5 years from now. It's about what's happening now. And if you could get that defenseman in that center, I would like to pull the plug for sure, without maybe giving up a first-round pick in 26.
The way our contracts are structured, really the next 2 years are probably our window. Either way, if we're definitely in the top 5 or 6 teams that could make that push. JT, do you like the Scott Lawton deal, or would you move on to Braden Shen or something else? Do you have anything else in mind?
I agree with Henny. You don't want to give up something solid like a first-round pick for somebody who's going to be a bottom 6 feeder. That's a lot to give for that, but at the same time, it's I think a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario. We've got 2 guys sitting right now in Cowan and Minton who realistically could be tearing up the AHL if they're old enough, right? So they're playing junior hockey right now. They are what we're going to be based on. They are our Nyes, our whatever coming up. So do you want to get rid of that and sell it all for the house right now? I don't know. If we can maintain our 2 goalies healthy and we keep playing the way we're playing, we are a playoff team. This may be our year. And like Paul says, our contracts are telling us we have to do it this year or next. When is Cowan and Minton going to pay off for us? And can we use something right now to pay off right now and get that cup to Toronto? That's
and JT, I think last year, this conversation, if we were having this show a year ago, it would have been Matthew Nyes that the team that other teams wanted.
Yeah.
You just don't do that.
Exactly. Like there's you have to be guaranteed so much to come back. You're throwing it's call cards on the table. If you're going to give up a Cowan and a Minton or a first, you're going to give that up to make it now. You do it. If you don't want to give it all up, those are cards you just don't want to give up right now, because they are our Matthew Nyes of the future. So,
thank you, Gord. If you believe the same way that JT and Paul are saying, is Dylan Cousins more of an option? Maybe a bit younger, and a good size, potential to be our second line center moving forward.
I do agree with JT and with Paul. Yeah, I think Braden Shen honestly is out of the question. St. Louis is asking way too much. They're looking at 2 first-round picks for him right off the bat, so I don't think Braden Shen's going to be in there. Lawton, uh, I mean, Ristolainen would be nice. It would give Tanev a chance to, maybe take a break from blocking so many shots. Ristolainen's pretty good out there at blocking shots as well. I don't know if you want to give up the house right away the first round and Minton or even Cowan, but again, JT's right. You're at a lose-lose situation. You either got to go for it or kind of hope that what you've got right now you can ride out and bring that cup back here to Toronto.
Okay, I think there is a few things that we are forgetting. Contract, fitting these guys under our structure. Now, doesn't that mean that we have to move on from David Kampf, Nick Robertson, Max Domi? Anyone want to chime in on that?
Those two out of Philly is $8 million in contract, right? That's a $5 million and $3 million players. That's a lot of money you got to try to hide on your cap, and we don't have the room to do that without giving up something that I don't think we'd get as. We're not going to get the bang for the buck to give away what we have to make room for that. I don't think we get enough ground on it.
Well, that might be where someone like a Minton or a Cowan might come in, because we'll need retention to not give up some of these players that we obviously want to keep. Although Max Domi is not playing the best, we all hope that he's gonna come through a little bit. Paul, what is your feelings? Has Max Domi been playing better up on the top line?
I think he has. And again, a year ago at this time, we'd have had the same conversation about Max, right? And then he really found his stride playing alongside Austin. Not sure that's going to continue, but they got to continue to give him a good look. There's a reason why they signed him for 3 years at 3+. I think Max is still more to give. It's going to come, but we've got to be patient with him and go from there. I see Nick Robertson leaving at some point and being a really good hockey player elsewhere. It just a change of scenery might be good. But I think Max is going to be okay. I still like those 2 Flyers coming over. I know the cap hit would be almost $9 million. I don't know how you fit that in right now, but boy, oh boy, would they ever help?
I think the only way that they could work it out is if it's a 3-team deal or a 4-team deal.
Yeah.
And they could add in
give extra.
Add in one player here going there, one player going there, and they could kind of
Alex
organize it out.
Nikita Gravakin.
I don't know about that one.
I like him.
I like him. I'm not so sure we're going to get rid of him so quickly.
Yeah.
I was between the benches that Thanksgiving afternoon game, and Steiner got traded that night. He had no idea. And you know what? I'm a good friend and a totally respectful of Cliff Fletcher, and some work and some don't work. That was not a good trade.
Yeah, I think the Leafs have had a few over the years that don't work.
You know what? Every team has, right?
Yeah.
But we know our own warts because we focus on that one team. But every team's been there. But yeah, we have. Believe me.
Yeah.
We won't talk.
This. Sorry, Gord, go ahead.
We won't talk about the Clarkson deal then, eh, Paulie?
Oh, I liked it at the time, though. But we soon found out it wasn't going to be a great deal. Tuukka Rask, Kordic for Courtnall. I mean, we can go on, right?
You can go down the line there.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole.
Now saying all this, Bill, we're going to start with you. Would you be okay with nothing happening? Are you confident in this team? And everyone can chime in. Are you confident in this team moving forward into the playoffs if we just went with what we have now? Kelly Armcroft coming back.
I am confident with the team. I mean, we've proven that when everyone's healthy and we're playing the game the right way, we've got our goalies playing well. we were first in the Atlantic and we had a pretty good spread on the number 2 team. I think we got as high as 5, 6, 7 points or whatever over Florida. But the realistic with the league is that there probably is going to be a deal or two. Might not be as big as what the fans base wants,
Luke Kunin?
but like Trey Living's got a good handle on the team and what. And like Henny said, maybe it is Robertson moving out, and it's just a small market, a small deal that kind of puts us over the top with giving him a new opportunity somewhere else, and somebody coming to our team and having that new opportunity that lights a fire under them.
Paul, what do you think of Nick Robertson and a draft pick for Scott Lawton? Do you think Philadelphia would go for that?
Yeah, but not a first-round pick. And I don't know if the Flyers would go for it. But you know what? You don't know until we get there. But I think a lot of this stuff is going to be done post Four Nations and the trade deadline. There's going to be so much of it done prior to that. Teams don't wait anymore. And to answer your initial question, they've got to do something. I mean, they do need a third-line center. I wish Max has been better than he has this year, but it's indicated he's not going to be that guy, at least if you're going to at least win a round and hopefully 2 rounds and then go from there. So I think they've got to get that third-line center, and you can never have enough defense, and they've got to add in that regard too. Absolutely. So there is going to be a deal, or maybe at least 2 deals.
All right, well, I'm not even going to ask you, JT and Gord, if so. Obviously, you agree with that. Okay, what we're going to do, let's make our dream first round series. JT, we'll start with you. Who do you want to see round 1, Stanley Cup playoffs, Toronto Maple Leafs and
Boston? I want to wipe the floor with Boston. I want to use them not just as a stepping stool, but as a freaking springboard, and just drive them into the ice as we spring to the next round. It would be poetically beautiful. Boston.
Gord, what's your first round?
I'm going to go with Ottawa, honestly. I think it'd be an absolute fantastic series to see Toronto-Ottawa. I do feel JT's pain there with Boston and driving them into the ground, but the way the Ottawa's been playing lately, I think it'd be an absolute fantastic series.
Yeah, honestly, I'd be okay with either one of those teams and the other team out of the playoffs. So, Phil, what is your choice? Toronto Maple Leafs and?
Well, I heard a rumor that maybe Marchand's going to Edmonton. So, hey, if they make that move, then Boston wouldn't be a bad one because he wouldn't have to deal with his crap, licking people and stuff. But I would like to say that I want to play a wild card team in the first round. Because if we're playing a wild card team, that means that we ended up in first. And we've got home ice advantage. And we're not used to that. We've always been in that number 2 or number 3 slot where we're playing against, you know what I mean, the Tampa Bays or the Bostons when they were better and stuff. So I would say if we can get that number 1 slot and we're playing against a wild card team, I don't care who it is, but I would love to see that.
As it is right now, I think it's Tampa Bay and Ottawa back and forth for that third spot. Right?
It's Tampa Bay in that spot due to games played. Paul, Toronto Maple Leafs and?
I got a kick. I was just looking at JT when he was going on about Boston. I so share that, but you know what? I'm with Kenny on this. I want them out. I want them out. Screw off. And it's nothing against the players. It's just a few of the journalists there. It's like Edmonton. I might have been the only guy in Canada not cheering for the Oilers in Game 7 last year.
Why? I was the second one.
Not because of the players or management, just a couple of media in Edmonton. Bob Stauffer, Mark Spector, who we would not have heard the end of it had the Oilers won the Cup, and how much better they are than Toronto and all of this. So for that reason, I was the only guy in Canada happy about that. For the guys on the Oilers, guys I know personally, and I wish they had won the Cup. I really do. But I don't think Boston's going to be around. Charlie Coyle, by the way, is a guy I'd love to see in Toronto as a third-line center.
Ooh, yeah.
You know what? Tampa would be a great first round, and so would Sheldon Keefe and the New Jersey Devils, just given dynamics there. But I'll tell you, another series against the Lightning, ooh, stand clear of the doors.
And you know what? We got a couple minutes here. I'm just going to go around real quick and get your predictions for the Four Nations Cup. JT, Gord, Phil, you've all stated Canada wins it by a landslide. We don't know if Sidney Crosby's going. Mark Scheifele's on notice. He's on standby. Drew Doughty joins the team.
Sidney Crosby is going to play, Ken. He's just not playing the first game against Sweden.
There you go.
There's a week in between Canada playing Sweden and then.
Thank you. Okay, Gord, we're going to start with you. What's your prediction? Who wins?
I still think Canada's going to win it. Crosby not playing in the first game isn't going to be a big deal.
Who do we beat in the finals?
The U.S. Guarantee you.
JT?
I agree. I think it's going to come down to first second is going to be between the U.S. and Canada. And I just think Canada has the better firepower. I love Austin Matthews. I really, really do, obviously. But I see Canada winning that game. So I see the standings dropping as Canada first, U.S. second, then Finland and Sweden, in my opinion.
Yeah, Bill? I'll go. Sorry, Phil, go ahead.
You get the last word, Paul. Sorry.
I've been on Canada's bandwagon. You know what I mean? I think that we've proven in these massive competitions when NHL stars are involved that the depth of talent that Canada can put on the ice is second to none. And you know what I mean? If we can score like how I think that they can, it's gonna take Hellebuck and the defense of the U.S. standing on their heads, and I don't know if they can sustain that for 60 minutes with that wave after wave of Canada offense.
And maybe it'll push Mitch Marner into a different stratosphere coming back. Paul, you get the last word. Thank you.
I think 3 and 4 will be Sweden, Finland. I think Finland's just too banged up, especially on the blue line, really, to make an impact in this tournament. But boy, oh boy, these Americans are very good. And I think the talent up front pretty much mirrors each other. My concern with Canada, USA is I think the American goaltending is better. And if that's an edge, then maybe that is an edge. My heart says Canada, and my brain is saying USA. I hope I'm dead wrong, guys.
Well, you know what? I'll take that because maybe that'll put Austin Matthews into a different stratosphere coming back. Either way, the Toronto Maple Leafs win in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Paul, as our special guest. I don't care what you say. Gord from Scarborough, we didn't give your areas. Phil from Parts Unknown, and JT up there in cold, frigid Thunder Bay. Thank you so much for joining Ken's Corner. This is a Leaf fan panel. We'll see you guys after the first Leaf game back that next Sunday. Enjoy the Four Nations Canada. Four Nations Cup.
Canada Cup.
Yeah, we know what you meant, Ken.
I aged himself there.
Go Canada, go. And I'm looking forward to having you all back on real soon. Thank you, guys. Have a great
Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.